I mean, if you think in your town there's nothing to do, there was nothing to do. And down the road, my family all lived on the same road out in the country, and there was our house, and then, my uncle's house, and my aunt's house, and then there was my grandparents' house, and they had the biggest house on the street. And everybody ended up there pretty much every day at my grandparents' house. And the cool thing about their house is this big sort of southern mansion type home. It was old. It had been passed on from generation to generation. My grandparents inherited it, and it was just there. And we just thought it was sort of like a playground. And it was built off the ground, about 4 feet off the ground. So as a kid, you could walk under the house and it had bricks around it, but nobody could see you and we'd play under there. What I didn't realize though, in front of the house by the street was this sign, and it was a historical mark sign that declared this house as an historical site in our town. So when people would come through the town, they would go see this house. It was like this old house, from the Civil War times. They'd take pictures in front of it. People would get married in the house. But I didn't know. I didn't really care. It was my grandparents' house, and that's just where we hung out and we played. And so one day, my cousin and I found a box of matches. And we just thought it'd be really cool to figure out if we could start a fire. How fun would that be, right? And so we got the matches and we started shooting matches, and then cars were flying by. We're like, we have got to go to a place where we're not going to get caught. So we went under my grandparents' house. And there we were, under the grandparents' house, and we'd been under there many times, digging tunnels, playing games, and we're under this house, right? And we have this box of matches, and we start striking matches. Now, this is really cool. Guys can tell you this. There's just something cool about fire, something cool about matches. There's something about something blowing up. We don't know what it is. We just love to do it. We like to light it. We like to shoot it. It doesn't really matter, and that's what we were doing. We were striking matches, and we had a few leaves and sticks, and there we were. We kind of gathered them up, and this was like our first time to start a fire on our own. So we're like striking matches, the leaves are burning, and they start to get, like a fire does, it grows, if you didn't know that. And there were sticks and stuff, and they started burning. And then we started running out, but the fire started getting big, and we were like really excited about this action that was happening under the house. And the fire got big, but then it started to dwindle. We started running out of sticks, and we didn't want to run outside under the house. We'd get caught, so we stayed under there. And my cousin looked at me, and he says, "We need stuff to put in the fire." So he looked at me, he's like, "I dare you to throw your shirt in the fire." Now when you're a guy, a dare is a dare. It doesn't really matter what it is, right? And so I just looked at him and was like, okay. So I take my shirt off and I throw it in the fire, and the fire gets bigger, it starts burning, and I look at him, he's like, "I dare you to throw your shirt in the fire." Well, he had no other choice, because I didn't know he has to do it, and so he takes off his shirt, throws it in the fire, and the fire starts getting bigger. And this is great. I mean, we're loving this. This is exciting. So he looks at me, he's like, "I dare you to throw your pants in the fire." Typical guy response. Okay. I'll do it. So I took my pants off, threw it in the fire, and it started burning. I looked at him, I was like, "Dare you to take your pants off." Okay. Takes his pants off, throws it in the fire, and we're sitting under there, and the fire's getting bigger, it's getting bigger, and we're just shredding our clothes off and throwing them in the fire, and we have this nice fire that's brewing, and it's just awesome. Now he looks at me and he says, "I dare you to throw your shoes in the fire." Now I had these nice shoes. I really didn't want to do it, but I had to say yes. I mean, what do, when you're dared? And so I took my shoes off, he took his shoes off, and we threw them in the fire, and they started burning. And this is what we didn't know about fire, since we weren't experts at this time in our life, is that when you burn rubber, it shoots off black smoke, and it doesn't go away, ever. So we throw our shoes in there, and the rubber starts burning, and it starts shooting out black smoke, and the fire gets bigger. And at this point, there are black flames coming out the bottom of the historical plantation home that my grandparents owned. And my grandma runs out in a muumuu. I don't know if you guys know what a muumuu is. If you don't, you really don't need to know, because it's a sight. So she runs out in a muumuu, yelling at the top of her lungs, "Oh my gosh, my house is on fire." Well, we take off running through the neighborhood in our underwear. And in the meantime, under the house, we had painted our faces, like we were Indians, and we were doing the deal. We're running through the neighborhood like nobody's gonna know it's us. in our Superman underwear that we had as kids, yelling at the top of our lungs with our faces painted, thinking that we're never going to get caught. Grandma, this is back in the day where you had to dial the phone like this. She dials my dad's number, which is like 5 houses down. I mean, I don't know how she did it. Catches him, and I'm running through the backyard, and he comes out of the house, literally, and just tackles me in the yard. And my first thought is, I'm dead.